Hello, everybody. Brett Schuhart. We're going to be covering science of stretching for Tai Chi and Bagua. To do this, I recommend a couple of things. Thing one, you might want some kind of bench, pillows, and blocks. If you don't have a bench, the side of a couch would be fine or something like that. If you need modification help, please let me know and I'll reply in the notes or something like that. So let's go ahead and begin by establishing our breathing. So we're going to breathe in to a count of 4 and then out with a to a count of 8. So I'm going to count, go with me, and breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4, and out 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And again in 1, 2, 3, 4, out 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Continue doing this for a few moments as I say a few things. This style of breathing into the nose and out through the mouth is a way to stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system, your gut brain. It will calm you down and it will help control your reflex, your stretch reflex. So keep doing this for a few more moments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we'll do this throughout the practice. Keep coming back to this breathing. And one other hint, if you're having trouble, push your diaphragm out. Just keep your stomach out and relaxed. And as you breathe in, you'll tend to breathe into your stomach, which will calm you down. And what you're doing more than anything else than stretching, you're programming your brain to say, using your executive function, I want you to understand that this discomforting thing that we're about to do or that we are doing is okay. And over time, your brain will say, okay, I'll let you do that. You're reprogramming neural pathways. Very important. You are completely reprogramming your brain. So this breathing is important. Breathing into your stomach is important. All right. Now, let's go ahead and start warming up. We're going to start with some active stretching. Active stretching does not really do anything in terms of really increasing your flexibility, but does increase blood flow. We're going to start with Bagua circle walking, or really just basic circle walking. I'm going to use this as my circle. And I'd have more room, but Ripley's in the way, and that's fine. Okay, find a circle. That's the center of the circle. I want my shoulders I want my shoulders going straight through the center. We're going to simply walk around. It looks like this, but what I want you to do is turn your waist, turn your hips, and put your hands out, or just hold your hands like this. In fact, this would also be okay, but we're just sort of keeping a twist in our spine as we walk in a circle. Now you might wonder, how long do you want to do this? So the magic numbers are 36 in each direction, or 72 steps. But just do this for a bit to warm up your spine with a twist. As you keep doing this, look over your shoulder and look around. So I'm keeping my entire spine. In this case, I'm rotating to my left. Okay, now go ahead and just stop. Pause for a second. Do you notice anything different about your right and left side? Just an observation. Maybe you'll get a sense of something that has changed. All right, now face the other direction. Waist, hip, arms, and just walk around the other direction. And you want to do this symmetrically. So if you took 36 steps in one direction, 36 steps in the other direction. We know that walking is good for us. The walking is, one, obviously healthy, but there's also little micro vibrations. Now we're doing micro vibrations with our spine. It doesn't seem like you're doing much, but you do this for a couple of weeks and you're going to notice a whole bunch of freedom in your spine that you haven't noticed. And this is a good place to do your 4-8 breathing. Okay, let's go ahead and get that out of the way for the moment. Now we're going to warm up all of our muscles. So reach up, take a look back, and then come down, sit, sit, sit. Now, I didn't set that up very well, but this is something that we're doing. So let's set that up a little bit better. Feet hip width, or maybe a little bit wider, slightly turned out. Reach up, hands wide open, look up, and then come on down, down, down. It goes down as far as you are comfortable, and then stop there. And then reach up, and then come down, down, down. As you come down, put your fist together and maybe bend your head into your wrists. Come on up, reach up, look up. Things are looking up. Grab some energy from Father Sky. Get some yang energy. And down. One more. After this one, I snuck one more in. Okay, now let's shake this out just for a second. Okay, feet parallel. I want this to be done primarily from your feet. So wet noodle. We'll talk about wet noodle more, but just sort of loosen your body and then just move with your feet. So I'm going to leave the upper body neutral and I'm going to move with my feet. Now, if you want, you can add some hand motion in here, but really just let the shaking of your feet do the work. This kind of shaking is really good for you. Stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system. It also stimulates your immune system. So something you might want to consider doing when you're cooking on the stove and you're waiting for something to boil. Okay, we're going to go into our first pose. So for this pose, you might use a stool to start with. I'm going to do this from the side. I guess I do want a pillow on this. Now, facing so that your hands are approximately over, I want you to bend your knees nice and deep, feet parallel, about hip width apart. Bend your knees, and let me get my timer, and we're going to start the timer. So bend your knees, place your hands here, and then just fold over. This is option one, and this is a good option. Keep the knees bent. This is not about the back legs. We're primarily trying to get a stretch in our back. Now, if this is okay for you, you might consider going lower. So now I'll go lower. And you're just going to hang here. Notice I'm going to interlace my arms. Now you can grab your elbows, but I find that if I just put this hand under this elbow and this hand here, then the friction will keep them there and I don't have to actually put any effort into it. So we're going to bend over. If this is uncomfortable, you might consider putting yourself up against a wall. So I'll go ahead and do that. Here's a wall. I'm going to come close to the wall. I'm going to bend my knees, and that might help me go forward, and then maybe I'll go a little bit farther, and then fall forward. So let's hold this now for a couple of minutes. So we want to be relaxed as much as possible. Wet noodle. The entire body, you want to relax it because we're trying to do something that is discomfortable, and the brain is going to say, no, I don't want to do that. So we're saying, breathe in, out 8. It's okay, brain. It's okay. And relax all the muscles that you can. So if you find yourself tensing up, try to relax that muscle or find a way to relax as much as you can. Just let go. Wet noodle. There are 3 things going into this. Wet noodle is the first thing. Every muscle that can be relaxed, relaxed. If you can't relax a muscle, then either lock out your arms or legs, or you might use support like a stool or something like that. So that was ragdoll, and hopefully sort of just wait for a second. How does your spine feel after doing that? Are you tingling? I'm already, my chest is warm, my back is warm. I'm already starting to feel a bit of sweat on my skin. So I'm already warming up, and I'm just going through these really quickly. Okay, the next thing, kitty, get out of the way. We're going to go into a very intense pose. I'm going to show you option 1, and then I'll show you a slightly less aggressive option. If you can go with option 1, this is the one to go with. Option 0.5 is a lot more comfortable, but it's just not as intense. However, you need to go from where you are. So I'm going to show you option one, and then I'm going to come out and go into option two. So start a timer, go up to a wall. I'm going to get my crown of my head right up against the wall. Rest in here. And then I'm going to reach up with both arms, fingers wide, hands wide, and I'm going to relax into my thoracic spine. Let your breastbone just drop. And this is a great shoulder stretch. Now, make sure that you're not feeling this in your elbows at all. You want to make sure the creases of your elbow are primarily pointing up. Wide fingers, and then just relax into it. Now, this is an intense pose. This is actually probably my favorite pose in the entire set. I'm going to show you an option, but first of all, I'm going to come out of this for a second, and I'm going to tell you how we get out of it. If you've done this for a bit, you're going to find it very hard to come out. So push with your stomach, and then slide your hands down. Now, the option 0.5, if that's too much, if you've had rotator cuff surgery, or if your arms are just not taking it, then a good alternative is on your knees, shins on the ground. Your knees are wide as your mat. I'm not using a mat, so make your knees nice and wide. And then you're about the distance from your elbow to your hand away. Reach up, and then same thing, fall in. Now, I find that I need to come a little farther back, so you need to work with this to figure out what works for you. But hands on the wall, and then fall into it. Let your head drop if you can. I actually find this one harder to hold than the one on the ground. Remember your breathing, 4-8 breathing, and remember wet noodle. Now, the next thing is we're going to, set up for pretzel. What we're going to do is we're going to lay on our stomach prone, and we're going to cross our arms. So I'm going to take you through this. Our goal is passive, resistance, and time. So wet noodle, you're passive. 2 to 5 minutes. I'm doing 2 minutes for this video. 2 to 5 minutes, and we'll talk about why you'd want to go 5 minutes in some cases and 2 minutes in another case. And again, wet noodle, passive resistance over time. And then breathe to relax. So 2 minutes, lay on your stomach. Let's take your right hand in front of your left hand, and then I'm going to reach, and then I'm going to set my chin into my arms. So a couple things about this. Personally, I often use a mouth guard when I'm in this pose because I find that I really get deep near the 5-minute mark and my teeth might grind. So a mouth guard is something I sometimes use. I'm not using one now. If this is too hard for you to hold, you might put a pillow under your chest to give you a little bit of help. But ultimately, what you're doing is you're sinking your chin into your arms, and it ultimately stretches your shoulders apart. So this is a great shoulder stretch. It took me several weeks to figure out how to breathe in this because you're hitting the bottom of your chin with your arms, and it makes it sometimes hard to breathe. And notice my voice is a bit messed up here. If the kitty comes by, it's fine to have the kitty come by, but resist the urge to pet the kitty. Hello, Chesterford. You gonna join me? Okay. Breathe 4-8. So I'm gonna count a breath for you. Ready? And ready to go in on 1, 2, 3, 4, and out 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1. You don't have to breathe out your mouth, but by breathing out your mouth, it actually vibrate your throat. So as you breathe out your mouth, you're vibrating your throat. Most people have a vagus nerve connection on the right side, but some's on the left, and I assume. Um, so you're actually stimulating your vagus nerve. When you stimulate your vagus nerve, you're stimulating your parasympathetic nervous system, which calms things down. It improves digestion. It's the opposite of fight and flight. So you fight and flight, you're like this, relax down. So wet noodle, and the breathing helps with the wet noodle, helps quite a bit. You might find that you start to fall asleep. That's okay. That's good. That means you're doing well. Okay, the next thing we're going to need is a bench. So let's set this up. You really can't use too many pillows on this one. Actually, I make a stack of pillows. If you start to notice pain in your back, more pillows. You do not want any feeling or pinching in your lower back. This is how I normally do this one. In fact, this is the exact combination. I'm going to get my shoulder blades hanging back. This is a passive back bend. All right, so again, I'm going to start the timer. I'm going to set this up. Notice I'm way down. I've got my shoulders here. Okay, we're good. And then my glasses are coming off, so I'll just put those down here. And then reach back, straight back. And then just melt. You want this to be as gentle as you can. If you need a bigger pillow set, use a bigger pillow set. Now, I have a C4 that is injured from whiplash 30, 40 years ago. So I'm going to keep my elbows pointing, and then I bring my thumbs back to sort of help my head support me. You probably don't need to do this, but this is something that I have to do because my neck is perpetually messed up. But oh, I still feel a really good stretch right there at the top of my thoracic region. If you don't have a stool, big old stack of pillows on the floor, blocks on the bottom, pillows on the top. I've done this on a couch leg or arm, not a leg. I haven't done it over a coffee table. You could try a coffee table, but the secret is more pillows. Breathe. Now, I could sort of keep my head up and my arms back. Here's a problem that I notice. To do this, I have to use my neck muscles. And so I'm sending my body two different signals, relax and don't relax. So by doing this, it feels a little less like a little less exertion. But play with this. Figure out what works for you. Again, if you feel any pinching in your lower back, definitely more pillows. This is an awkward pose. When you're in this for several minutes, I normally flop over to the side. I'm going to go ahead and drop my knee and come down. But in all of these poses, a couple things. Thing one, you cannot come out of them too slow. Thing two, Thing two is it's going to look awkward and funny. And in fact, learn to laugh at yourself. And I don't know about you, but I'm sweating already. This is intense work. This is deep work. This is hard work. Someone looking at you or thinking, you're just laying there. You're not just laying there. You're trying to calm your body down. Over half of this, in my opinion, but I might be wrong about this, is mental practice. So you're actually training your brain to relax with discomfort. And that turns out to be a really useful life skill. So you're doing a lot of extra lateral learning when you're doing this sequence. All right, now we've just done a whole bunch of stuff with our back. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just sort of reset. This is a transition. You can sit or you can stand to do this, but let me show you what we're going to do. I'm going to call this Phoenix Shoulders. It's part of a Phoenix Qigong set. So put your arms out now. Take your right hand and bring it into your armpit. Keep it going around and then rotate it up. So it comes in to your body, into your armpit, keeps going around and up. Now do that with the left hand. So the left hand comes into your armpit, continues rotating around, and then up. Let's do that again. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do that opposite. So right hand comes in, left is out. Left hand comes in, right is out. This is just a reset pose. Play with it. It's fun to do this standing as well. We're just trying to integrate all the stuff we've done. Maybe wax on and wax off. Just move your shoulders around because we've just done a whole bunch of upper shoulder and body and back work. So just sort of integrate that. Okay, now moving on. You're going to need, I'm going to show you option 1 on this, and then I'm going to show you option 2. And then I'm going to have a conversation about this because for me, I did this pose for 2 years in option 2, and I got a great stretch, but it didn't target where I wanted to target. So ultimately, what we're hoping for is I want you to feel pressure between your shoulder blades. So option 1, you got a stool, plenty of pillows. Now, my feet are pretty close. In fact, for those of you who practice yoga, this is a very shallow dog, and then wide feet. And then I want you to melt, sink in your shoulders. I want your shoulders to just relax. Let's see if I can get this. All right, there we go. I can sort of feel that right between my shoulder blades. It's a subtle feeling, but after a couple minutes, you're relaxing, relaxing, breathing, wet noodle. And I get a nice amount of passive tension or resistance over time. Now, if you can, this is perfectly fine to do on the floor. Now I can hold this on the floor. And I can even manage sometimes to target my shoulders, but it's hard for me to target my shoulders. I'm getting right now a nice stretch on the back of both of my legs, which is great, but that's not the target of this pose. So play around with this. Oftentimes I'll bend my knees a little bit. Oh, there we go. That's a much better, right there. Whew. That's hitting perfectly between my shoulder blades. Breathe. Relax into a wet noodle. Melt. Imagine your breastbone is melting into the floor. So I did this for 2 years. I did it in such a way that I was targeting the back of my leg. So my calves, which used to be very tight, are now just only slightly tight. And also my hamstrings have gotten a nice stretch from this pose. You might do that, but that's not what you're targeting in this one. There's a different pose for that. So to come out, I tend to walk forward. Okay, now just stand for a second. I'm going to, or kneel, and tell me or think about how does it feel? Okay, now continuing, we're going to do a little bit of shoulder and waist work. If we did both of those. So what I want you to do is I'm going to want you to stand. Feet are not that important, approximately parallel, maybe wider, maybe turned out a little bit, but right now let's start parallel. So first of all, start by just rotating side to side. This is how we start. Now what I want you to do is put your arms up, and this is something you you can't go fast on this, go nice and slow. Okay, so now next thing, I'm going to stop moving my head and I'm going to keep looking at you. While you're doing this, you might notice that you want to grip with your feet and make sure the outsides of your feet are gripping as much as you can or pressing down because you don't want to twist your knees too much. Now, here we go. I'm going to stop my arms and just move my waist. Then I'm going to move my arms opposite of my waist. I'm getting some nice crunchies near my atlas in my head when I go to the right. Right there, crunchies in my head. All right. Shake it out a little bit. Now that was a reset pose. That's not a It's not meant to be held or anything like that. That was a dynamic stretch. But really, the whole point of these transitions or these resets is to sort of shake it up, loosen things out, and make sure that you're okay. If you have any tingling during the pose, I get that all the time. You've got tingles, I've got numbness sometimes, and I've got little electricity. If it's too much, do back off. But if it's not too much, the test is this, and does it go away about after 30 seconds after? If you have a reasonable amount of tingling, but then 30 seconds out of the pose, it's gone, that was fine. If it doesn't go away after 30 seconds, you probably went too deep. In general, we want time more than we want too much resistance. I would trade longer time up to 5 minutes over too much. So if you're doing too much, what actually happens is you might hurt yourself. And also, more importantly, you're sending your body two signals. This is too much, and you start to tighten up. So oftentimes, coming out of the pose a little bit gives you a deeper stretch because you're doing two things again. You're programming your parasympathetic nervous system and your brain, but also you're relaxing your muscles. Your muscles have trouble relaxing if they're doing too much. So just enough, but no more. And you're going to have to figure that out for yourself. And it's going to change from day to day. It's not going to be the same. There are some days I can go much deeper into poses than other days. That's okay. You got to go from where you are today. And remember, it's more important to move a little than to wish you could move more. Complaining about your pain and so all that kind of stuff, really, that's actually your ego trying to get you to calm down. It's actually a response to the difficulty of what you're doing. So you're actually training yourself to have a little more perseverance. So you're getting perseverance out of this amongst a whole bunch of other values. Okay, so now we get into some of the harder stuff. All right, we're going to, let's start with a couple blocks. Oops. What I want you to do is I'm going to go from the side and then I'll change the angle here. Put a couple blocks down. Make sure your feet are wider than your hips and sit into this. Knees together. Okay, I'm going to start this. Call this lightning bolt. I don't recommend you turning your neck when you're doing these things, but since I'm sitting, I'm going to show you what this looks like from the front as well. Knees together. My hands fit straight down. If this is comfortable, then maybe you might option 2. Remove a block. Go a little bit lower. Now, I need to move my feet out a little bit wider. Hello, Chesh. Come here. Option 3, maybe a little bit lower. Now, I'm getting a nice feeling in my knees here. Also, this is a good stretch for your hamstrings. So you might feel this in your hamstrings. You might feel this in your knees. Both good places to feel it. And this is, honestly, this is a great place to be. I sometimes go a little further back. I'm not even going to show you that option because this is intense enough. And remember, I could turn it up more by going back, but I'm probably going to tweak my back because I'm not able to go all the way back safely. But do not go back. Do not go back if your bum is not squarely on the ground. So right now, my butt is on the carpet, so I could go back, but my knees are saying, we're okay. And remember, I'd rather stay here a little less intense for a longer time, and I'll get a much better stretch and a much better relaxation of everything than if I go farther back and I have to keep effort. So let's stick with this option. We've got just a little bit of time left. You might push your fontanelle up to straighten your back to get the weight over centered. Now to come out of this, if I've been in this for much longer than 2 minutes, even now I can kind of feel it. The first thing I do is I sort of put my hands on my side and I push straight up and just hold that for a second to let it relax. Again, come out of these poses slowly. I'm in my 50s and my muscles are in pretty good shape in terms of flexibility, but I still have to come out of these poses really slowly. So just, you can't go too slow. Now, the next thing is a passive twist. And Let's see. I've got the kitties in the way. I'll go ahead and do this here and see how this works out. I need to come a little further back. Yeah, I'll go from a 45-degree angle. Okay, so laying on your back, head on the ground, dog above your head. I'm going to start the timer. Take your right leg and put it over your left leg. Bring your bring your legs up to your chest, 90 degrees. You don't want to go any more than that. Now, my right leg's on top, so I'm going to take my left hand, I'm going to put it on the outside of my right leg, and I'm going to slowly turn to the side. Now, this might be all the further you get. So option one is you use a pillow and you rest here. When I started doing this pose, this is about where I was. You might lower that a little bit and go a little bit lower. Notice my right butt cheek has come off the ground. Totally fine. This isn't one of the principles, but I think it should be a principle. It's not how it looks, it's how it feels. I'm getting a really nice stretch on my lower back right there. Optional, you might try taking your right foot and continuing around under. Now, I couldn't do this when I started. All of a sudden, I can do this really well. This adds nothing to the pose, but it actually does make it maybe a little bit easier to hold, maybe not. Doesn't matter. On this pose, in mid 2022, I was on my left leg on top, and I felt a minor pinching in my shoulder blade, and I egoed through it. I was like, that's not a big deal. And then I came out of the pose a little too quickly, and I just completely tore my shoulder blade. It was painful for 6 months. So if you're feeling any pinching, if you're feeling any joint pain, if you can point to the area that hurts, you want to back off. Back off slowly, but definitely back off. But this one especially, I mean, I'm all the way down. I could go a little bit deeper. I really don't need to go any deeper. I'm perfectly fine here. I have to come out of this one really slow. Okay, that's the time. Now I'm going to release my feet, drop them to the ground, and then I'm going to slowly, 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 slowly come back. Take my leg over and put your feet on the ground. And just for a second, lie here. Let me turn off that timer. Lie here and notice, does the right side of your lower back feel thinner or higher off the ground than the left side? Mine does, and it's just because you've stretched that and it's now nice and loose. I'm going to go from a slightly different angle. I'm going to start the timer. So, timer on. Left leg, lift your left leg and sweep it over your right leg. You might be up here. That's fine. If that's what you've got, that's where you're at. Take your right hand, put it on the outside of your left leg, and come on over. Now, as you're in this pose, you might be able to find, I can move a little bit down, and that's good. Keep moving down, moving into it, and then I'll go ahead and go all the way down. But remember, you're not going to win any contest. You're not even in a contest for what this pose looks like. You're trying to get a good stretch. That's a nice stretch right there. Remember your breathing. 4, 8. I was holding a little tension in my left shoulder, so I just tried to relax it. If you notice some tension, take your inner sight and point it at that tension and relax it. Wet noodle, most of my body. Lots of tension, lots of passive tension on my lower left side, lower back left side. Breathing to relax. Remember, you're going for the feels, not the looks. If you were in an Iyengar yoga class, someone in an Iyengar yoga class would look at you with a whole bunch of disdain, and that's okay. When you're doing Iyengar yoga, you go for alignment. When you're doing science of stretching, deep flexibility, you go for feel. All right. Again, I'm going to drop my feet, come back very slowly. And since we're already here on the ground, I like to, after doing this, set my back flat, maybe my feet a little bit wider, and then I'm just going to rotate them back and forth. Let's turn your knees into windshield wipers, very slowly side to side. And again, this is just a integration, transition, reset. We're just trying to we're trying to come out of the deep stretch. Another thing I like to do is maybe spread my feet, and then I bring one foot down slowly, and then I bring the other foot. I bring the knee down, not the foot. I guess the foot's rotating though. So medial rotation on my left leg, lateral rotation on my right leg, medial into the middle, medial rotation on my right leg, lateral rotation on my left leg. That's not important, but just let you know. Okay, now we're going to go into a very intense, amazing, great pose. It's called blaster. So to get into blaster, we're going to start on a tabletop, curl your toes under, into a dog. Doesn't really matter. And actually, I was literally into my dog and also into a down dog. Hello, doggy. Now, I'm going to swing my right leg around, and I'm going to bring it up to my right hand, and then scoot it forward, scoot it forward, scoot it forward. You're probably, and I should have told you this first, I apologize, you're probably going to want a pillow for your knee. I don't normally use it anymore. You eventually get used to it. So I'm going to slide my left leg back, and then the front foot, I'm going to rotate out 10, 20, up to 45 degrees. Now, if this is too much, you might use, this is a perfectly good option to rest on a bench. And right there, I'm just relaxing into my groin. So my right leg is in flexion. I'm flexing my right leg, and this is getting the hamstrings. So hamstrings. This is extension, my quads. This is a great pose. This is a deep pose. But this is one pose that if you're going to hold for a long time, this is a good one to hold for a long time. The reason for that is it's both complex and compound. Complex, it's dealing with a whole bunch of muscles, at least 6 muscles. Compound, you've got 2 different stretches. Extension, flexion. Now, if this is comfortable, this is good. But one thing I want you to notice, my arm is locked out. My arm is locked out so that I can use the bone in the skeletal structure. It's not as good as being completely relaxed, but it's much better than bending. In a yoga class, I might actually do micro shifts in my elbows. And what does that do? That intensifies the pose, and it turns it into a more strengthful or a more yang pose. Hello, kitty. But that's not what we're doing here. We are actually not doing yoga. What we're doing is we're doing deep flexibility training using yoga poses. The important thing is the intention. If my intention is a power flow vinyasa, that's great. But if my intention is relaxation, then I want to relax into this. You might go further down, but now I'll switch to the other side. Okay, to come out of this, I'm going to push up. Now, I normally put my elbow under my knee, and then I'll use that to slide my foot back. You might also curl under your toes and then push back. Okay, I'm going to show this from the front now. So, start in a down dog, doesn't really matter. Swing your left foot up to your left hand, slide it forward until it's at least perpendicular, but preferably be in front of, you want your foot in front of your knee. Set your back knee down, and then just relax into this, turn your foot out. Okay, so let's talk about the pressure you're feeling on your knee. I didn't talk about it last time. I'm going to do this so I can look up. Still get a good pose. So you're going to feel a lot of pressure on your knee, and you're not used to that. You'll get used to it. If the pressure's on your kneecap, it's uncomfortable, but your knee can handle that. Your knee is relatively protected. If you feel it behind the kneecap, if you feel it on the joint, back off. But really, just use pillows. So I'm going to come a little bit lower. Stretch out a little bit better. Another option, and how I started doing this pose, I had a whole stack of pillows right here, actually big old blankets under me, and I just put my chest into those pillows. You gonna keep helping me? Okay, no, you're not. If you can relax your head, that's great. I have trouble doing that because of my neck problem, so I generally keep my neck slightly bent, but not very bent. Now my arms are getting tired, but that's okay. What I'll do is I would use some more support, but we're almost out of this pose. So time's up. What I'm going to do is this time I will curl my back toes and I'm going to push back, push back, push back, and then I'm going to use my hands to maybe help me slide my legs back. Okay, final pose. We're almost done with the stretching. For this one, you might find that a pillow under your bum helps. I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, sit with your feet together. You want a good distance from your crotch to your feet. In fact, 1, 2, 3, 3.5. I've got 3.5, 4. Knees out to the side. And then I want to lean forward. Now, something I'm going to show you about these pillows. I haven't started the timer yet. So take a thick pillow, make a V. Notice, it'll push you forward just a touch. So I'm going to do it with 2 pillows. That's a cheat. You can use your equipment to help you. So sitting on 2 pillows, feet together, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 3.5. I'm going to start the timer and then relax forward. You're going to be tempted to pull. Put your hands up. You don't want to pull. If you're finding your back is getting a little pinched, more pillows in the back. Also, look forward instead of down. That might help as well. I like to do cross the arms like we did earlier and allow the weight to pull me down. Or sometimes I'll put my hands just together in front of me and that pulls my weight forward. And then just sit here and relax. I'm going to slide my hands out a little bit, give myself a little bit of support. Now, I'm not actually pulling with my hands, but the back of my hands have just enough friction with the carpet that there's just a slight pull, and that turned it up a little bit. Where might you feel this? You might feel it on the outside of your hips. I feel it between my glutes and near my IT bands, so on the outside of my hips. Certainly on the inside. You might be worried about the curve of your spine. Your spine is meant to curve. It's called, in this case, flexion, spinal flexion. Okay, now I'm going to push up, push up, push up slowly. And then I'm going to use my hands to lift my feet. Now, as a transition, you might just want to lay on your back for just a second. I'm going to lay on my back. Be a little bit. There we go. And then I'm going to bring my knees up to my chest. Play around here. What does your body feel like? What do your muscles feel like? Do you have tingles all over? Okay, roll to your right side, left hand on the floor, push up with both arms, knees under. Okay, we've got a few more things to do to round it out. We're going to just do a little bit of standing Wu Chi. Wu Chi is from it actually stands for before Tai Chi. It's the time before which yin and yang have been separated. So feet parallel, knees slightly bent, tuck your tailbone. Let me show that from the side. Feet parallel, my knees are locked out, my knees are slightly bent, tuck the tailbone. Do you see that? Do you see that? Watch one more time. There's a subtle shift of my weight. When you tuck your tailbone, my weight's going to go forward a little bit. So here's my weight. I'm locked out. Okay. Feet parallel, knees bent, tuck my tailbone. I slide forward a little bit. Now the next thing is you've got your tailbone tucked. Push your fontanelle right here. Your fontanelle is right there. That soft spot on the baby's head. Push the fontanelle up. So feet, knees, tailbone tucked, fontanelle up. Ooh. And then one last thing. I'll show this from the front. Feet, knees bent, tailbone tucked, fontanelle up. Notice thoracic extension. So fontanelle up. Then I'm going to rotate my hands inward, medial into the middle, and I'm going to use that to help relax. In fact, just for a second here, put your hand in your armpit, rotate your arm until you can find the ligament that's moving here. When you go out, you turn it on. When you go in, you relax it. So in a yoga pose, if you externally rotate your arms, it turns most poses on the ground way up a bit. So feet, knees, tailbone tucked, fontanelle up, turn your arms in a little bit, and then attempt to, with the chest relaxed, push your sternum down into, oh yeah, there we go, into your pelvic floor. Whew. Haven't been able to do that last few days. So I've got my column, my spinal column, pushed down into my pelvic floor. Okay, now let's let that relax. We're going to just do a few more moving exercises to close it out. So, sort of like how we started with moon squats, we're going to reach up and then swan dive down, bend your legs, come on down, keep your arms around, and then imagine there's a stream. We're going to bathe in the stream. There's some water. It's yang energy from Mother Earth. Grab some water, push with your feet, push with your feet, push with your feet, and wash it over you. I'm going to go ahead and just for the fun of it, I'm going to externally rotate my hands, optional. Swan dive down. As you swan dive down, knees bent. Grab some water from Mother Earth, yin energy, and up the body and wash it off. Okay, now the opposite. We're going to gather clouds. We're going to gather clouds from Father Sky. We're going to gather yang energy from the sky. So, knees bent, reach out, look up. Sun's up, sky's up, things are looking up. Ah, there's a nice little cloud. Grab that little cloud and bring it down. Now that cloud is like a ball of energy. That ball of energy is coming down your center. Keep coming down, down, down. Okay, reach out, reach up, look up. Things are looking up. Nice little cloud is smiling at you. It's a Mario cloud. You've got the Koopa off the cloud, so the cloud is safe. Bring it down. Tuck your tailbone. Bring it down. Bring it down. And let's put that into our pelvic floor, also known as the lower dantian. Thank you very much. Hope you've enjoyed. Hope you have good tingling across your body. This was a quick version of the form because I'm recording it for practice, but this is a good version of this. If you look, I'll have some QR codes that you can go to the details of the form with some other information and also my recommended times. So 2 to 5 minutes. Less than 2, it's hard to really get into a stretch. More than 5, it's sort of like you're not gonna get much bang for the buck. It's better to mix it up than to hold for too long. That's true for most poses. Um, Enjoy. Hope you had a good time. Thanks and bye.